Hi guys, it's Scorpio3 here. Welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be doing something totally different once again. And we are going to be talking about, well, what's going on in my life, pretty much, and what's going on in a lot of other people's lives right now. That really just to educate people, just to inform them what's happening around, not so much the world, but Australia in general. Because I feel that Australia has been the guinea pig, to be honest. I feel that we have been the guinea pig to what's coming around the world. And I thought I might just give you guys a feel for what's happening on the ground because we are in the depths of it right now in Victoria. I'm not in the city of Melbourne. I am about 2 hours outside of Melbourne in a regional town. And it's interesting the way that we are being treated right now, to say the least, as human beings. Because obviously, with the cerveza sickness, we'll call it, happening all around the world, it's affected each country differently. And I feel for everyone out there. So if you're struggling right now, I love you. All my love to you. We appreciate you. Stay strong. Keep working hard, things will turn around, you'll be okay. So, in Victoria, aka Melbourne, 2 years ago, we were told, like most countries, that, okay, this is going to be a problem. We need to flatten the curve. What's the word they use? Flatten the curve. I had to remember now because there's been so much spin since then that it is mind-boggling. So we had to flatten the curve. So you'll need to wear a mask outside. You will need to sanitize. And with that, we should be able to flatten the curve so our hospitals do not get overrun. Okay, beautiful. And that, I dare say, that was about 3 months that went on for. And then all of a sudden it was the government directive went to, okay, so now we're going to eradicate the virus after a certain amount of cases happened in Melbourne and in some regional areas. Now we're going to eradicate the virus, right? So what they went to was, okay, there's 6 cases, 6. The number 6. Not 60, not 600, not 6,000. 6. So they decided to shut down the whole state, lock down the whole state. Okay, the whole state. And at this point in time, they were talking about just protecting the elderly. Okay, so to protect the elderly, we need to shut down the whole state of Victoria. Right. So instead of just, okay, this virus, it really only affects the elderly worse. Instead of just saying, okay, we need to just protect the elderly and maybe work with the elderly to help them just socially distance, look after them and look after the minority. No. We decided to shut down the whole state. So the whole state was shut down for 6 months. 6 months. So you were no longer going to work unless you're a essential worker. Okay. And luckily for me, I was classed as an essential worker, although it didn't help me too much because where my revenue stream comes from, all those were closed. So it was businesses. They were closed. So we were essentially working from home. It wasn't easy. And this is 6 months. So it became quite degrading over time. And some of you guys have felt it because you're in it. Some of you are still in it right now. The city of Melbourne is still in it. So 6 months later, let's just say that businesses were propped up by pretty much printing money. As far as I can see, they printed taxpayers' dollars and gave it out to businesses and gave it out to pretty much everyone and anyone, to be honest. And there were some businesses there. Now it's come out that they received millions and millions, and some of them tens of millions of dollars that actually didn't deserve it. So well done to them. Thanks, government. Interesting times. 6 months later, apparently the cases are down to a point where they feel comfortable to open again. And when I say open, I don't mean everyone, only a select few. There was still gyms. There was still a whole list of businesses that never opened, no events, no artists, no musicians. They were all still not working. There's no travel, still, obviously. In between states was shut down, between Victoria and New South Wales. So, and that still hasn't, now we're 18, 20 months into it, and they're only just opening up borders now. But in the meantime, some people got back to work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months. And then as soon as we hit the government's threshold, which they class as not the government's, it was from all these different institutes who are giving them the advice, apparently. We hit some of these thresholds and we had to lock down again. So there was week on, week off, week on, week off for a while. 2 weeks off. And pretty much essential workers were the only people that were keeping any sort of a resemblance of an economy working, making any money and keeping the economy financial to a degree. And that was interesting because we're now about 18 months into it, I'd say, or maybe about 16 months into it. And now with the Delta variant, we are now, well, our government are now mandating that, well, they have mandated it. They've mandated the fact that every essential worker, so the people who managed to keep the economy going for the pretty much 8 months that we were shut down, 9 months that we were shut down, now have to be mandatorily vaccinated. No choice. And I mean no choice as in no exemptions. No exemptions unless you're anaphylactic, unless you've had an anaphylaxis event last time you received a vaccine. That's it. That's pretty much the only way that you can get an exemption from a drug that is in a trial phase. And it is pretty much only approved. The 3 that we do have at the moment, these drugs are only approved for emergency authority only. So in a normal world, these vaccines would not be approved. They would not have passed the testing, the regulatory testing that actually requires them to be able to be used. So the government have mandated that almost everyone, like when you look through the list, which is changing every day, they're making up the rules as they go along, that pretty much everyone must be mandatory vaccinated. And I can tell you right now that there's a lot of people out there who are not going to do it no matter what. Their trust has been broken so many times from this government, whether it's at a federal level or even at a state level. Business owners are being pressured that they have to have their people vaccinated, their workers, if they want to keep their job. If they have someone at their workplace working for them who is unvaccinated, they could potentially get a $10,000 fine, and even the person gets a fine and the workplace gets a fine. Even after all this, probably the worst thing that we could possibly see is that not so much the mandatory vaccines that is questionable at best, but more the way that the government has treated its people. You know, in the Western world, like, we've had it easy for a long time. I'm not going to lie, like, we've had it easy. And that's been due to a lot of different things. In the last 10 years, I'd say that we've had a housing market that's just been out of control, that the government protect no matter what. They protect it like it's their baby. which it is because it's about the only thing holding up this economy. We've had easy monetary policy, which is pretty much the same everywhere around the world, especially in America and Australia and Europe and everywhere else. Extremely low interest rates, because that's the only way that house prices can stay where they are. And that's about the only way that people can afford to live. I mean, if interest rates go up, which we're seeing, not so much interest rates, but as we're seeing inflation starting to take over now, especially in America, but that's coming to everyone. As we're seeing that happening, interest rates either have to rise or they're just going to print the currency to oblivion. And to be honest, America pretty much have already printed a hell of a lot of currency, and they're planning to do another 3.5 trillion. The Federal Reserve sit there and go, no, there's no inflation. But it gets to a point, right? And this is where I'm kind of leading to, is that it gets to a point where there's only so many times that you can be lied to. There's only so many times that a government can betray its people before people start to realize that. Or anyone, for instance, like in any relationship, if you're being taken advantage of, or if you're being told what to do, if you're in an abusive relationship, are you going to want to stay with these people? No one with half a brain. And this is the problem that we're having. Government, we saw them in the streets of Melbourne. You know, people were protesting. That could go either way, but the use of excessive force, of rubber bullets, I would never have thought that Australia would have come to that. And that's just sad. Because most people, 2 years ago, go back 2 years, 3 years, people wanted to come to Australia. We were seen as the lucky country. You know, we were seen as, I'd like to think that we were seen as nice people. That could be a generalisation and a bias, but when I travelled around the world, Australians were treated relatively well. You know, we were liked by most people. And if you're from another country, don't feel that Australians are bad people, because it's not the people. I can tell you that right now, it's not the people. Just because the government are destroying this country, most people had no part in this whatsoever. We're not getting a choice. It's either get mandatorily vaccinated or you don't have a job. See, now, I have pretty much lost my job at this stage, and that they call it your own choice, but it all depends on what you want to do. Whether you want to get a drug that hasn't been tested, that no one knows what the side effects are in 2-3 years' time. No one's got any idea yet, hasn't been tested. Even the drug companies state that. No one takes any responsibility if something happens to you. The drug company doesn't, the government doesn't, the doctors don't. The only people that really take any responsibility right now are business owners. They are getting absolutely punished from the government to force them to lose their stuff. And I can tell you right now, from where I'm living, or I'm not too sure about cities, but from where I'm living, business owners were struggling the way it was to find people that were skilled, to find people that could actually do the job, to find people with great attitudes that would want to turn up and work hard. And, that they were struggling then. And with these mandates, with people about to walk away from their jobs and just find another way, the business owner is going to feel it the worst among the people who are that far in debt, that have no savings and are living paycheck to paycheck and about to lose all their income, and they have families to feed. Those people and business owners are probably going to be the worst off. And another thing that should be noted is that while all these people are losing their jobs, and for choices that they have to make, anyone who's involved with the federal government, state government, judges, security guards, police officers, Australia Post, these 6 fields do not have to have mandatory vaccinations. Now, and they wonder why we, or people, don't trust the government. You are mandatorily telling us that we have to do something, or we lose our livelihoods, yet we're going to exclude ourselves from that. Now, how does that make any sense? There is no logic whatsoever. No logic. They're protecting themselves as usual. From what? I mean, if their vaccines work, which is up in the air at the moment, which, to be honest, is not looking so flash, because ever since these mandatory vaccinations or the vaccination rates have been rising rapidly from pressure from the government, we've had more cases than ever, more deaths than ever. Yet they still carry on with this. Like, how? Like, if something doesn't work the first time, the second time, you run the same playbook again. It doesn't make any sense. They are on TV having a go at the people who are questioning this. I mean, like, really? Really? And after everything we've heard out of your mouth, which is 3/4 of it has been wrong. 3/4 of it has been wrong at all levels. And they just expect us to trust them? So, obviously, there's lots of problems, okay? Everyone knows the problems, and if you don't know the problems, that's what's happening right now. Okay, everyone sees on YouTube the riots in the streets, the people losing their minds, the construction workers that have mandatorily been told that you have to do this, truck drivers who sit in a truck by themselves all day and drive all our precious cargo and food and supermarket stuff. Like, they're barely around people. They mandatorily have to have it because they go in between states. I mean, really. They don't even have to get out of their cabin. They do something different. Think outside the box. Maybe go, okay, these people, maybe we just need to like get the forklift drivers to drive in there, pick up their stock, take it out, and then they count it, make sure it's all there, check it off, and then off they go. They don't even have to get out of their cabin. Like, how about we try something like that instead of like, no, the whole industry has to get vaccinated. Like, really? No. Mandatory for everyone, except for politicians, federal police, security post. Like, it sickens me, to be honest. There's so many people out there that are going to lose their livelihoods. It just makes me sick. It really does. And it's not just at a work level. I mean, some people, they volunteer. Like, volunteers need to be mandatorily vaccinated. Someone who volunteers, like, you can't even give your time for free. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And for them to sit back and go, oh yeah, no, it's the unvaccinated that are causing all these problems. There's more cases than ever because unvaccinated people are doing the wrong thing. I mean, we've got 80% of the people in our state that have had their first dose. That means there's only 20% left, and now there's more cases than ever when barely anyone was vaccinated at the start, and we had less cases. You can blame Delta all you like, but it doesn't add up. It literally doesn't add up. And anyone who thinks it does, they've got to be lost. They've got to be lost. So, look, there's problems, obviously. And that doesn't even include all the big tech, all the silencing, all the cancelling, all the surveillance, the QR codes. We have to scan a QR code everywhere we go in, which goes to the government, right? And it's just recently been found out that, like, at the start they said we're going to delete all of those QR codes, everyone who's scanned every 28 days, because we don't need them after 28 days because it only technically lasts 14 days, apparently. So, which that's changed too now, mind you. So, we don't need them. Well, it's just been found out that those QR codes, oh no, the government now, we're going to hold on to those indefinitely, just in case of an emergency, just in case something goes wrong. But no, you need to trust them. You need to trust them. Don't question us. So, what's the solution, right? Now, there's no easy solution. I can tell you that right now. There is absolutely no easy solution. And it makes me sick and frustrated. But the good news is there is a solution, but it's a double-edged sword. So the one thing that was created, and I'm going to do a whole nother video on this, but the one thing that was created in the last global financial crisis could be the one thing that could save humanity. Because the problem right now, it's a financial issue, yes, and it's a social issue, yes, but you know what the biggest issue is? Trust. Trust is the biggest issue right now. Trust in government, trust in banks, trust in politicians, trust in the financial system, trust in relationships and people. And you know what the one thing, see, trust is a problem, especially when centralized systems like politics, like banks, like Facebook, like Google, they're all centralized. They're run by certain people and they control everything all in their one little hub. Trust is the problem. So how do you fix that? Well, that one thing that was created in the 2008 financial crisis, or got released then, was blockchain. Decentralized blockchains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the other type of cryptocurrencies. They are pretty much the only solution that I can see is what is going to change the future for a free society. If we want a free society, decentralized systems are the only thing that's going to change this, because the power needs to be removed. The power over you as a person, the power over your financial situation needs to be changed, because these centralized powers are taking everything away from everyone. So what's the advantage of a blockchain? And what's the advantage of decentralized technology and systems? No one person, one place holds all the data. Now, I'm not going to go into real technical detail, but I'm going to try and make this simple for people. So Bitcoin, for instance, Bitcoin's not held at a specific bank. Bitcoin's not held at a reserve bank. It's not held in one specific place. Bitcoin is held all around the world on a network of random computers called mining, everywhere around the world. So if you lose one, for instance, say you lose a big miner, the other miners kick in. They're still going. They still have what's called a ledger. And that's all a bank is. A bank is just like a ledger of transaction. Yeah. But Bitcoin is the same. It's a ledger, but it's spread out around the world. Not one person owns it. That's the same for Ethereum and same for other blockchains. They have their own ledgers, which some of them are decentralized around the world. So no one person can technically stop it. And just imagine that. So imagine if how we vote. Hey, let's do this. Imagine you're voting in America, right? You've got 2 or 3 parties and 4 or 5, 6 parties, however many there is. I don't know about American politics too much. But all I know is that the last one was questionable at best. So instead of using the post, because oh my God, like that can be the most corruptible system. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not huge with Trump or whatever, but Biden's been below average. Let's say that. But I'm not taking sides, but what I'm saying is the system that they use can be corrupted like that. Anyone can buy out the post system and say, this is what we want to do. Anyone can buy a truckload of votes and go and change that. But you can't with a blockchain. You can't do that. So everyone gets a message sent to their phone and says, right, you need to vote on the election. Press on whoever you choose, 1, 2, 3, 4, however it works. You do that. It gets sent all around the world, put on all these different ledgers. And then if someone tries to double vote or someone tries to fake the system, it will get picked up as being, or someone goes to change their vote or someone tries to hack it, it will pick it up because it's all around the world on all different computers. They all talk to each other. If it doesn't line up, The one that doesn't line up gets removed. And then it continues on, counting the votes. It's decentralized around the world. All of a sudden, you have trust in the system instantly. So trust in relationships comes back, trust in the world comes back, trust in money comes back, and we go back to an even better system than what we had, which is corruptible by humans. They want to vote a new law in. Instead of this being recommended by, say, I'm in Victoria, right? Say they want to put a new law in, and the people run the country, not 2 or 3 people sitting there making decisions for the rest of the state in a room on their perch, making decisions for the rest of the country. 12 o'clock on a Friday night. Okay? So, we want to bring a new law in. Okay? You have the right to do that. Write your law up. We send it out to everyone in Victoria. Okay? Bang. Send it out to them. And then they get to vote on it. The people make the decisions. With all the information attached. You need to read all this information, right? And then if you agree, select yes. If not, select no. It automatically counts up the votes. Yes, no, whatever. And if it goes in, it goes in. But it's voted by the people. The people have chosen. The people run the state. The people will run, not 3 or 4 people who can be easily manipulated, easily overdone by other governments and other people. If you want to know why Bitcoin is valued at what it is at and why it's still rising, now this is not financial advice, so do not take it this way. But the reason that it is valued by that is because it's a trustless system. It's a trusted system, sorry. It's a trusted system. It really is. And at the moment, the world lacks that trust. So we need to bring that back. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy. And I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.